I never thought I'd be one of those people with a cheating story. My husband, Mark, and I had been married for 6 years. No screaming fights. No dramatic breakups. Just a quiet, predictable life in a small suburban town in Ohio. He worked long hours in IT. I worked from home as a freelance designer. From the outside, we looked solid. Boring, maybe, but safe. Lately, though, something felt off. Mark started coming home later than usual. He guarded his phone like it contained state secrets. And somehow, he was suddenly too tired for conversations, dinners, or even eye contact. Every time I asked if something was wrong, he smiled and said, "It's just work." I wanted to believe him. One Friday, Mark told me he had an overnight work trip. A last-minute thing. He kissed my forehead, grabbed his bag, and left. I remember standing in the doorway, watching his car disappear, feeling that familiar knot in my stomach. An hour later, I realized his laptop charger was still plugged into the wall. I didn't plan to snoop. I swear. I just wanted to pack it for him. But when I opened his laptop to shut it down, a message notification popped up. "I already miss you. Last night was perfect, red heart." My hands started shaking. I clicked. There were months of messages. Late-night jokes. Complaints about me. Plans. Photos I wish I could unsee. The woman's name was Emily, someone from his office. Someone I'd heard about before. Just a coworker. I didn't cry. Not yet. Instead, I did something I never thought I'd do. I drove. I knew the hotel he usually stayed at for work trips. It was only 40 minutes away. The whole drive, my mind kept begging for this to be a misunderstanding. Maybe the messages were old. Maybe he wasn't even there. But when I pulled into the parking lot, I saw his car. I sat there for 10 minutes, heart pounding, before walking inside. I didn't make a scene. I didn't scream. I just waited near the elevator. Then they stepped out together. Mark was laughing. Emily's hand was on his arm. They looked happy. That was the moment something inside me went completely quiet. Mark saw me first. His face went pale. Emily froze. "Why are you here?" he asked, like I was the one doing something wrong. I looked at him and said, calmly, "I forgot your charger." I placed it on the floor between them and walked away. No yelling. No begging. No tears. I filed for divorce the next week. 3 months after the divorce was finalized, Mark called me. I almost didn't answer. We hadn't spoken since the day I left the charger on that hotel floor. Lawyers handled everything. Friends picked sides. His family stopped reaching out entirely. I moved to a smaller apartment closer to the city and tried to rebuild a version of my life that didn't include him. When I finally answered, his voice sounded different. Smaller. I just wanted to check in, he said. I heard you moved. I did, I replied. What do you want, Mark? There was a long pause. Emily left, he said quietly. I didn't feel satisfaction. I didn't feel anger. Mostly, I felt tired. He explained that once the secrecy was gone, so was the excitement. They started fighting about little things. Trust issues. Jealousy. She accused him of lying ironically. A few weeks later, she transferred to another company. Then she stopped answering his calls. I ruined everything, he said. I thought it would be different. I looked around my apartment. My plants. My half-unpacked boxes. My life in progress. You didn't ruin everything, I said. You just ended our marriage. That's when he asked the question I knew was coming. Do you think we could ever talk about us? I closed my eyes for a moment. No, I said. We already did. You just didn't listen. He didn't argue. He just said, I'm sorry. This time, I believed him. But belief doesn't mean forgiveness. And forgiveness doesn't mean access. We hung up, and for the first time since the betrayal, I felt something unexpected. Peace. A few weeks later, I ran into Emily at a grocery store. She barely recognized me at first. When she did, her smile faded. I didn't know he was married when we started, she said quickly, like she'd rehearsed it. I nodded. Maybe. But you knew eventually. She looked away. He said you were already emotionally gone. I smiled. Not out of cruelty, but clarity. He was wrong, I said. I left after he did. That night, I deleted the last photos I still had of Mark. Not out of anger. Out of closure. People think cheating stories are about betrayal. They're not. They're about realization. The moment you see someone exactly as they are and finally choose yourself. And no, my life didn't magically become perfect. But it became honest. And that was more than I ever had with him. But here's the part no one talks about, the aftermath. Healing doesn't come overnight. Some days, I still catch myself wondering what went wrong. Other days, I wake up and feel lighter than ever. I started therapy. I leaned on friends I'd forgotten I had. I rediscovered passions buried under years of routine. Most importantly, I learned to trust myself again. Mark? He's just a chapter now, a painful but necessary one. And me? I'm writing the rest of the story. One where I'm the hero. Because in the end, surviving a betrayal isn't just about losing someone else. It's about finding yourself. A year after everything ended, something unexpected happened. I was at a cafe, sipping coffee and scrolling through job listings, when I noticed a familiar face across the room. It was Mark. Not with Emily. Not with anyone else. Just Mark, alone, looking different. Haggard, maybe. Or maybe just human. For a moment, I debated whether to say hello or walk away. But instead, I smiled and waved. He came over, cautiously. "I've been trying to find the right words," he said. "But I guess there aren't any." I nodded. "I wanted to say thank you," he continued, "for walking away when you did. It forced me to face things I'd been ignoring for years. I'm in therapy now. Trying to be better." I felt a strange mix of emotions. Part of me wanted to be angry again. Part of me wanted to scream. But mostly, I felt proud. Proud that we both had the courage to face the truth. "Good for you," I said. "Healing isn't easy. But it's worth it." We talked a little longer. About life, mistakes, and second chances. Not as husband and wife. Not as enemies. But as two people who once shared a life and now share understanding. That day, I realized something important. Forgiveness isn't about the other person. It's about freeing yourself and moving on. Today, I'm stronger. I'm learning to love again, starting with myself. The pain of betrayal didn't break me. It rebuilt me. And if you're listening to this, going through something similar, remember. You deserve honesty. You deserve respect. And above all, you deserve to be the author of your own story.